Okay. So the panel discussion. So now we listen to what the experts have to say, not a naive new guy like me. All right. So Mahatma Gandhi said, if we are to reach real peace in the world, we shall have to begin with the children. All right. So lasting peace depends on educating future generations into the competencies, perspectives, attitudes, values, and behavioral patterns that will enable them to build and maintain peace. So the distinguished panel, let me introduce them. This is not in order, but first of all, we have the Minister, the Cabinet Minister for Public Security of Sri Lanka, Honorable Dr. Sarath Weerasekara. Thank you very much for coming, sir. Then Professor Vasantha Seneviratne, who is the Head of Public and International Law Department of the University of Colombo, and the Director of the Center for Study of Human Rights, Sri Lanka. And she is also one of the few people who are writing our future, that is the Constitution of Sri Lanka. She is one of the 9 panel members who's designing and drafting the Constitution of Sri Lanka. Okay. And Dr. Sunil Navaratne, Director General of National Institute of Education of Sri Lanka and the former Chairman of the University Grants Commission, another influential figure that will shape the future of this nation. Then Dr. Harsh Alas, Chairman of Gateway Group, an educationist and a medical doctor who has done a lot to promote education in Sri Lanka and come up with very ingenious and innovative ideas as well. All right, so let's give a good round of applause for the panel. All right. Okay. So what is peace education? Sorry, I just have to lecture you a little bit more. So peace education aims to nurture peaceful humans via conventional educational institutions and places emphasis on non-violent conflict resolution and conflict transformation. Otherwise, peace is a skill. It must be taught and learned. All right. Peace education can be used either to prevent conflicts, transform children during conflicts by teaching students lessons on peaceful coexistence based on scientific knowledge. Peace education should attempt to bring about both negative peace, that is the absence of large-scale violence, and positive peace, which is the development of an equal society which respects human rights and promotes social justice. With that in mind, we'll move on. Okay. Now, I'll pose these questions in general. You can opt to ask them, answer them. And the first question that I like to pose to everyone in general is basically how to incorporate peace education into our current existing system. Whether it should be added as a separate program in schools, that means a separate subject by itself. Education should be applied through the regular school subjects. What do you think? Anyone, if you like to? Yes, please, sir. No problems. I'm not an expert. Yes, sir.
The World Historical Record, oldest diplomatic mission has been by in Devanam Buddhist Center, special envoy to Pataliputra in Ashoka. And then in turn, he is a special envoy, and that was the still recorded oldest diplomatic mission in diplomacy in mind. And also, I will just talk about the local peace time of the culture that you are talking about. And when we talk about the mind, Buddha said, like he has explained in Aishgata, Durangaman Ekacharam, Asariran, Guhasam, Yechitti Kanya Machina, Mukanti Durangaman, it goes very fast. thousands of kilometers. Ekacharan caves in Sri Lanka. And Asarina, that we know body, Guhas and lives in a cave. Right? But if you control that mind, you can defeat the Mara.
Yeah.
And the mind is the one which plays the war. And mind is the one which gets peace. Okay? So not your deep theory, but I heard the later now somebody say, somebody proposes that secular education without cultural identity pave way for peace. That's what I heard. So in that I jotted down a small note. Right? Cultural identities including religion, culture, ethnicity and language. Okay? So if we accept, we should give exactly the same education to all without reference to religion, ethnicity and culture and language. In what language we are going to teach the children? Is it English? No mother tongue? So we give them Western language and Western culture, and this can't be the right answer. In Sri Lanka, we teach religion only as one subject among many other subjects. So it can't be religious education which leads to fundamentalism, destroy the peace. Okay? So if we give all the subjects from a point of view of religion, only religious education, like some of the madrasa schools, then such education will lead to fundamental. So in Buddhism, there is a sabbe satta bhavanti satta. In all beings be happy. So Buddhism never advocates violence or harm to anyone. Does not use violence to propagate it, does not proselytize using unethical ways. Okay? So not teaching one's religion or language is not the solution to the problem of violence or absence of peace. Important question is how to teach one's religion, culture and language without discriminating against the others. See, if a religion teaches harm to others, then that religion itself is harmful. Right? A country cannot have people who are ignorant of their own religion or culture. So in a society where there are more than one religion or language, then we must teach children pluralist values, such as respect for others, tolerance, compassion, respect for life, human rights, opposite sex, respect for opposite sex, and other religions. If any religion is opposed to these values, then such a religion has to be avoided. I agree the value of peace has to be taught to children as a part of their education. But it should not be done at the expense of their own religion, culture and language. In Buddhism, we don't value only knowledge. Knowledge has to be guided by virtue. Silena anupesanta, sutena arthona vidyate. So that means knowledge without virtue is useless. Okay? So this means our education system should aim at not merely imparting knowledge, but also inculcating virtues that are helpful for peaceful existence of not only human beings, but also animals and animals. So
Yes.
this should be my introduction.
Yes, very good, sir.
Answer any questions.
Yeah. Yeah. So
And
thank.
of course, I am related to my ministry. Also, Alairu, because I am the public secretary minister and my responsibility is to make sure that the people in the country live without any fear or suspicion. So there has to be a peaceful environment. So that is my
Subject matter
my
as well.
job. And in that I have to ensure that there are no extortionists, there are no rapists, there are no the underworld activities, there are no child abusers, and the country is free from corrupt manners. You see? So those are the aspects that I am
Yes.
I have made my attention.
Yes, sir.
Doing that. I should work.
Yes, sir. So if I can really quickly ask you a question. Now, the concept of nationality is very important, especially given the current system that we have in place, especially the capitalist free market model that we have in place. If we do not have a team identity, then your chances of performing and like excelling in that, because it's a competitive environment that we have. So nationalism, national identity is very important. And one thing that is something that you recently proposed and something that I've been advocating for some time as well. Regardless, universally I like peace. Given the current actual situation that we live in, we have to inculcate some kind of national identity or national pride, a sense of duty, and especially self-discipline and self-control. As scientists have proved, if you have more self-control, more impulse control, the more likely you can be peaceful or less violent. So one of the suggestions that you brought about recently was basically to give a mandatory national service. I don't like to use the word conscription, so it will send off alarm bells, but basically you came up with a suggestion to at least to improve self-discipline, right? What do you have anything to share?
What I was suggesting was the compulsory training for the youth over 18 years of age, right? So why I said was that, during the last year, on the road itself, by violating rules of the road, 2,900 have died on the road. Okay, and this year, in this 1.5 months, 272 have died. Right, one of the youth, about 18 years old, he was riding his bike at a very high speed, and he killed a mother and 2 children on the yellow line.
More than Corona has killed over a year.
On the yellow line. So that means, like, these youth, they don't respect for the law, and they don't know the law, and this youth has been charged for murder. So, and his future also ruined now. See? So why I wanted to this compulsory training for the youth to know the rule of the country and about the punishment that if you violate the law, and also like about the national feeling. They must know the value of the country. They must know the value of the culture, right? Our strategic location in the Indian Ocean is Admiral Harry Harris, who was the naval commander of Indo-Pacific Fleet. Right? When he was asked why Sri Lanka is so important to you, he said on 3 counts. Sri Lanka is important. First one, the location. Second one, the location. Third one, the location. You see, we are situated in midway between the east-west, very important sea lines of communication. On to our east, there's state of Malacca, about 2,000 kilometers away. On to our left, there's state of Bones, that's also 2,000 kilometers away. If you block these two, no ship can come into the Indian Ocean. Right? In the Indian Ocean, about 70% of the bulk cargo is being transmitted, and 50% of the energy is being transmitted in the Indian Ocean. Right? And that is why, for the last 2,500 years, there were so many invasions in our country, starting from Chola, the Pandya, the Kalingamaka, the Portuguese, the Dutch and the English. Why did they invade? Because of the importance, and people must know that, right? And people, and I must tell you and I also, they must know that our ancestors who have fought to curb that influence, see, to protect the unity and nature of the country. See, I'll tell you a very interesting one, if I'm taking my time. The Portuguese were here for 161 years. They came in 1505, and they were here for 161 years, and Portuguese were in Brazil for 20 years. And Brazil is 70 times larger than us. And Portuguese were in Brazil for 20 years, and Brazil is 70 times larger than us, and in Brazil everyone speaks Portuguese. And they were here for 161 days. And we are 70 times smaller than Brazil. We don't have a single one who speaks Portuguese. So that is the commitment of our ancestors. So see how hard they fought to curb that influence. You see, so those are the matters. So people must know how to eat, how to use the fork and spoon. They must know how to stand straight. They must know about the leadership. They must know their personality. They must know the law. They must know the punishment. So if you are in possession of more than 2 grams of heroin, then offense punishable by death. See, and they must know that. You see, for most of the people do wrong things because they don't know the punishment, law, and the punishment. to violate the law. So that type of training, they are not the military training that
yes.
because those facilities are available, only available in the army camps and the military camps. So if you go inside you, then instill that discipline. No? So people should be disciplined first, and also people should be patriotic first. If our police is patriotic, if our forces are patriotic, if our public is patriotic, I think peace will naturally
Come about. That's right. Thank you very much, and I also agree with that. In fact, Doctor, if you see like countries like Singapore, Switzerland, then Denmark, Finland, like all these countries which are set to in the highest levels of human development index as well as human rights indexes, all have mandatory conscription, even Switzerland, even Singapore. And the main motto, the main policy reason behind it is not to militarize the country, but to give a sense of communal harmony. For example, Singapore has so many different people. In order to give a unique identity of Singaporeanness, they are using that strategy. Even in Switzerland, there are 4 cantons, and they have different cultures. So to bring about a national identity, they use mandatory militarization. Even Israel uses it. So I don't think it's a bad proposal, and we should go ahead with it. I don't know what will happen in the future. So, yes, please go ahead.
I'm from the education perspective, I think we should appreciate Lahiri as a good academic and philosopher,
young person.
and good leader. We need kind of people.
Thank you.
And also, from this education point of view, since we are talking about education, I should remind that when we were in the higher education, for all the they like it very much. That's right. 4 years. And
Check
there
one,
was
check.
this, Supreme Court case against us.
Check.
They said that it's a human rights violation.